We're back. It's the Horns Up Talking Texas Pod. Fisher Tosopoulos, DJ, Nikki, Snacks, Kreider. Gentlemen, happy week one. We've made it. The summer is over. The hype is here. It's time to see if this roster that we deem to be the best we've seen since we've stepped on the 40 acres as students ourselves can actually produce and put together a Big 12 championship season and the Big 12 curtain call for the Texas Longhorns. Starting off, Brett Yormack, the commissioner of the Big 12, had some choice words, didn't really pull punches, said he'd be in the stands in Austin, Texas for the Thanksgiving Day game versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders, happily cheering for the Red Raiders. Before we get into the predictions, from a betting standpoint, just from an overall standpoint and keys we want to see in the Rice game, which, again, could not be more stoked for. What are your guys' thoughts on the commissioner's words saying that he's going Red Raiders or bust come Thanksgiving?
Bring all the smoke. I love haters. It just fuels the fire. I mean, hopefully that'll be a nice little send-off for us where we can close out the regular season and then a week later get ready to play a Big 12 championship game and then hopefully take us to Final Four.
Toss?
Yeah, I don't know. Just it's funny noting like just how Sark kind of reacted to it. That he found the words odd, considering the commissioner had sent a letter about sportsmanship to all the teams in the Big 12 the day prior. And so Sark, I think his comment was, I'm reading it here. I'm trying to figure out about what are we promoting to our student athletes, and then to go say those types of things. So. Seems a little bit, a little weird, a little mixed up.
We get special treatment, though. We know we're Texas.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes both ways, special treatment in a positive and a negative way. Like, look, are we coming into the season and we're going to get crap calls? Like, are the Big 12 referees going to jerk us around?
Could be.
The commissioner's coming out there and openly rooting for other teams against us just because we're leaving. Like, I get that everyone's upset and I get that we made a money move. But it's just honestly kind of bullshit. Like it's not a joke to me. Like these are these kids' livelihoods now. Like you make money playing college football. You can make further money in the NFL. Like every game matters for these kids.
This is our livelihood.
It's our livelihood. Like if these kids are coming into the season though, and they're getting treated even slightly differently because they're playing for Texas, if we have Big 12 officials and Big 12 higher ups rooting for the other teams, like it could really hurt somebody's draft stock in their future careers by not playing in the Big 12 championship game, by not getting that extra game in the college football playoff when all eyes are there, just because there's like a slight bias. Like it just definitely sends a very peculiar message throughout the rest of the Big 12 and into the Texas locker room. But if this Texas team is what we think it's going to be, it shouldn't be matter. It should be smoke in the wind, piss in the ocean.
That's what, I want to bring up is that I think, Sark further just going into some of his comments and, he was like, let's not make this more than it is. This is about us. We're focused on what we get to do and why we get to do it for the 550,000 burnt orange family members, that we do it for, kind of paraphrasing at the end there, but he's absolutely right. Any of the dominant programs that we've seen in the last 10 years, one call does not make or break a season because they are so good at what they do that one call does not make or break a game. And if you want to compete with Alabama, if you want to compete with Ohio State, you want to compete with Clemson, 3 years ago when Dabo was doing his thing, and they still are, of course, and Georgia right now with Kirby, you dominate. You don't just win, you dominate. And I think that's where we can get to with the talent that we have on the team. And I think this is just another, another hot coal under our rear end to keep us going and to keep us more motivated. And we already know that we're motivated. So I like that Sark is maintaining the focus, and the focus is Rice, right? The focus is week one. You take it week by week. I know it's hard to do, especially when we have the looming exit, at the end of this season heading to the SEC, but it's the right way to end our tenure in the Big 12. And we'll get our chance at Tech at the end of the season. We're 54-18 against them all time. Let's make it 55-18. And then we'll get there when we get to the last week of the season. We get to Thanksgiving.
And we lost in like a rare Bijan fumble last year in a game.
Heartbreaker.
We should have
gone overtime, to be honest.
Absolutely. I do want to I want to say though that like there's a few analysts. I saw Herb Street McAfee who picked both Bama and Georgia and both Ohio State and Michigan to go to the playoffs. So you're saying, Tossin, we'll get into the bigger picture outlooks this season when Quan joins us for Thursday's show, but you're going to have to dominate this year to get into the college football playoffs. And speaking of dominating, we're going to have to dominate this opener against Rice to build that momentum against Alabama. We open up as 35-point favorites with the spread being 35. Sorry, the over-under being 60. What do you guys like in this game? Over, under, spread? Talk to me, fellas.
I like the over, and I like the spread because I think we're probably going to end up beating them 63-0. Like that's one of those games where if you're the old Texas, right, or what Bama does for their tune-up games, their preseason games, they smack teams right off the bat. And so I think this is going to be one of those games. Maybe taking the under, maybe it's Texas, 55-0. But like this Rice team, kudos to the university. It's a very, distinguished university to go to, great education. We've had some transfers that have come in. Calvin Anderson was a Rice transfer, came and played some years, went to Texas, now he's in the NFL. But this should be a game where we just come out and smack the living crap out of them.
Mm-hmm. Toss?
Yeah, I'm with that. Obviously, a lot of virality and conversations behind the embrace the hate motto, right? That it has been rumored to be kind of like in the locker room what the players what they're donning as a motto together, and they want that John Wick mentality, right? And that's what Sark wants for them. They want to be the aggressors. They want to go and they want to attack other teams. And that's exactly how you do it, is what Nick is describing. You go and you make a statement to everyone and make their response be, well, you played Rice. And that's what you want to hear from them, because
Right.
you know that means you have more work to do. So whether it's 63 or it's 70, if we shut them out on defense, that to me will be really, really telling. It is tough. We know that better than anyone in the last 2 seasons. It is tough to play 4 quarters of defense, whether it's a Big 12 game, out of conference, doesn't matter. Those guys get tired. It is hot. I went back to Albany, Texas this past weekend. I was in Dallas as well. It is scorching in Texas right now. And I do not, I'm not jealous of those guys that are going to be out there. I'm jealous of the way that they're going to feel when they're out there. And if they do win 63-0, they will feel great. And they will, be held up by the rest of the university and by all the Longhorns that are watching that game and around campus. But man, it's toasty out there. So playing 4 quarters of good A+ football on both sides of the ball, but especially on the defensive side of the ball, are going to be tough.
Yeah. It's
I just want to see
Go ahead. Finish.
I was just going to say the other thing is I want to see clean game, special teams. Clean game. Game 1. Make a statement there. Be perfect.
Yeah. No missed kicks. No fumbles, no muff punts, just play a clean game, because special teams, it's a good point. I mean, you're not going to be able to afford those mistakes when you're playing against Alabama, when you're playing against OU. Look, I want to see Malik Murphy in this game. They're going to make their decision here pretty soon. We're going to hear any day now if the backup is going to be Malik Murphy or Arch Manning, and I think we all believe it's going to be Malik Murphy. But I want a game where Quinn gets taken out in the 3rd quarter and it's Malik for the rest of the game. And, maybe he throws a touchdown, and gets some playing time. The kid deserves it. Mm-hmm. This has, potential to be a huge weekend for us. Obviously, it's a big weekend because we're kicking off and beat the crap out of Rice, but we're focusing our attention on another big recruit. Got Colin Simmons a couple weeks ago, and now there's another 5-star out of Lafayette in the 2024 class, Dominic McKinley, who is making his decision on Friday. It's down to us, I believe, Ohio State, OU, A&M, LSU. Those are the top 5, and a lot of people have him crystal ball to Texas. So that's another big defensive lineman to add to the mix of this already stellar recruiting class that can really catapult this defense as a top-tier defense when we make it to the SEC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be reporting on that, win or lose with McKinley, but that'll be another massive pickup for us, and another great out-of-state recruit that we're nabbing.
Very under the radar too.
Very under the radar.
Wasn't hearing much about it. I mean, he's the number 1 player out of Louisiana, and if you're taking the number 1 player out of Louisiana away from LSU, you're doing something good.
Cash money. Last time we saw Rice was 2 years ago, 58-0. We won. Bijan Robinson, Roshan Johnson both ran over 100 yards. Keelan Robinson had 80 yards. Jonathan Brooks had 60 yards. As a total, we ran for 427 yards in the Rice Owls. Now, the Rice Owls have a familiar name at quarterback. JT Daniels will be under center for the Rice Owls. And I'll say, from a spread standpoint, I was fortunate to be in the press box for the USC versus San Jose State game this past weekend. San Jose State had a veteran quarterback who ran the ball really well in extended plays, and I think our defense is definitely going to be better than maybe a porous USC defense that we may see throughout the season. But I wouldn't be shocked if Rice hung us for 13 points. Like threw something on the board with JT Daniels. All that being said, though, I think we could easily sail that 58 points. I think we could go in there and get like 66 points and really put some serious pressure on them. We could see a lot of guys with a lot of touchdown passes. This is going to be a game where you're not going to throw everything at the wall if you're Sark, but you're going to try to get a lot of touches to a lot of guys. And that was something I saw with USC, being there. They have a really deep wide receiver room, and they gave a lot of touches to a lot of different players. They got the freshmen involved. They got the veterans involved. They got the transfers involved. So, yes, I want to see Worthy and Ewers, and I want to see that connection, and I want to see that blossom. But I would love to see Whittington get his, obviously Jatavian Sanders, and I would love to see like Nair get into the mix. And some of our like Jonte Cook, like just because he's a freshman doesn't mean he's not going to play. Casey Kane, love to see those guys build on some of their success they had last year, and love to see some of the new faces. A.D. Mitchell get into the mix. So definitely looking for them to spread the ball around, and I think we could go with the over. Fingers crossed in the cover, but I'm more confident in the over in this one.
A lot of people have been high on A.D. Mitchell this offseason, hearing great things out of camp. And look, he might end up being the best transfer that we've seen maybe in Texas history. So we'll see. Really quickly, JT Daniels has played for 4 colleges: USC, Georgia, West Virginia, now Rice. That is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, that's like what's Keaton Slovis on? He's USC, Pitt, and now he's BYU.
I mean, it's 3. This is 4.
Dude, these guys are like, yeah, but the quarterback that I was alluding to at San Jose State, like he's played this. This is his sixth season.
This is Penix's 6th season with Washington.
He was at Indiana first. Like I completely
in college at least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
do we think there's a QB who has been on 3 different teams all within the same conference?
I don't.
Where's Casey right now?
FAU.
FAU.
Yeah, with Tom Herman.
So he's on his 3rd team.
Yep.
Yeah. But 3 different conferences. I'm just thinking about like these guys, and we just mentioned JT has been in 4 different conferences.
Well, it used to be a thing where if you were to change, I don't know how it works now, but if you were to transfer within conference, you'd have to sit out a season.
Well, if you transferred period, you'd sit out a season. Are you saying in the new transfer rules, if that
rule still has been upheld? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I was more just like, maybe that's a fun fact out there that someone has.
Well, let me look that up.
Within the same conference.
Regardless, though, the fact that this quarterback is on his 4th college football team, like he's been on 4 different campuses, it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Like he's got to come away with a master's, right? At least
maybe
PhD.
Or his selling point when he goes to NFL scouts is like, hey, I've basically already been around the QB carousel as a backup. I was a starter, but I've been to 4 different places. So if you don't think that I can pick up your system real quick and be the guy that you need who's holding the clipboard, whether I'm the 2nd string or the 3rd string, you're wrong, man. I can do it.
I'd love to have him on the show and just ask him, like, where are the best parties? Like, who's got the best food? Who's got, like, the funnest locker room environment? Like, just rank these 4. I mean, you went to USC, huge school. Georgia, huge school. West Virginia, pretty big school, pretty big party school. And now Rice. So I'm imagining when it comes down to education, like Rice will probably be the one. But I mean, USC and Georgia.
He's in Houston, though. There's a lot of distractions in that city. Just go ask James Harden. We know that. Come on.
You can transfer within conference without penalty, but going from those schools, obviously he's decreased in the value of like football, but I think decreasing in the value of fun too should be noted, like drastically. Like even Washington,
dude, come
West
on.
Virginia to Rice is a huge drop off.
I mean, like, dude, like at this point, like you're just really kind of grasping for straws for playing time at this point. Maybe he just really loves football and just wants to figure out a place to play for one more year. But like, yeah, you're going from amazing party school or just great vibes in general for USC in Los Angeles to Athens, which is a great school, great campus, to West Virginia, that Morgantown, that's also got a great college, culture, to Rice, which what's their undergrad even at? Their undergrad is at
What, just enrollment? Like how many kids?
yeah.
Well, he's a grad transfer.
Okay, well, how many students they have? They've got total 8,000 students as of the fall of 2021.
Yeah.
Undergrad is 4,200. So postgrad 4,000. Like, not a lot of people on campus, not a lot of things to do.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to. We'll talk smack after this week if it's needed. I mean, for him, I imagine it has to do with opportunity and him feeling like there was way more of competition in Morgantown for him to potentially not be under center, and he knew that he could do that in Houston for Rice. And if he puts up, crazy stats this season, maybe he has a pathway back into the NFL to be, like I was talking about, a second string or third string QB.
I mean, he was supposed to be the guy at Georgia.
Yeah.
It was
And
like and USC. It was a kind of like a surprise that he like lost like the Georgia job to Stetson Bennett. Like there was
West Virginia. He was supposed to be the guy where he went.
But there was like there was like a heavy like, all right, if Stetson Bennett doesn't work out, like JT Daniels is getting his shot, like he's coming in there. And then obviously we know the story with Stetson Bennett back-to-back national championships, but like pretty freaking wild that we're going to be seeing him on Saturday, but super exciting. Yeah, I'm really excited to see the weapons come into play. I'm excited to see how the run game looks.
What do you think when the broadcasters are talking about JT Daniels on Saturday? Which is the team? Do they list all three teams? Do they when they first mention it, talk about his time at Georgia? Like where are we going with this?
Yeah,
Are they going to mention?
I think the quick little moniker is going to be JT Daniels, the transfer out of West Virginia, and then if they want to dive into it, they're going to do a fun little.
But of course, that before he was at West Virginia, he was
like the ESPN graphic where it's like this goofy cartoon character like hopping on a bus, getting off on a stop at USC, getting off the bus.
yes, dude. Great call.
Over under 3.5 mentions of his maturity and veteran presence as a QB being at multiple programs.
I mean, I think this could also go against your maturity. That like,
sure,
you can't.
Sure, but they're not going to bash. They're not going to bash the guy. They're not going to bash him on the broadcast.
Like, is it like a more? Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I think like if you're a guy who gets a transfer, has been with 3 other schools, and he's in your locker room, you're like, what's wrong with you? Like, you don't have any boys? Like,
no, for sure. What do you guys think? Is the broadcast team going to say over 3.5 times just a mention about like, well, he's played a lot of games because he's a veteran. He's a veteran college QB. Like he's a grad transfer, so he's been doing it for a long time.
It's not like good things to say. There's not many.
It's not like Jesus. It's not like it's like the basketball thing where it's like, Jimmy Graham played basketball for Miami, or they love to mention the basketball thing. Yeah. Like I think
honestly, Jimmy Graham might be kind of sick this year. He had some dope preseason catches for the Saints.
Yeah, he did have some dope preseason catches. I mean, I would love for Jimmy Graham is just sick, period. But like I don't think they necessarily go that route. Hopefully they're not mentioning him a lot positively. Hopefully there's a lot of him getting sacked lunch and a lot of interceptions and turnovers. And we pouting on the bench would be glorious to see. And at that point, we're seeing, whoever his backup quarterback is in the mix.
Yeah. I'll throw out some stats.
Thanks.
Talking about him and JT Daniels moving away, but to our QB, Quinn Ewers, just a couple of measurables that I want him to hit this game.
Go for it.
Passer rating over 218.2. Completion percentage over 72%. Passing yards over 278 and over 4 passing touchdowns. You want to know why? Because that's what Caleb Williams' numbers were against San Jose State. And whether Quinn tells anyone or he doesn't, I hope he doesn't say anything, but I hope for himself he's setting that personal goal, striving to be as great as Caleb Williams, who is the Heisman winner from last year and touted as the 1-1 going to the Arizona Cardinals, who just got rid of our Longhorn, who was going to be the only staple of consistency for the Arizona Cardinals this year. And so they are buying all in my opinion, on Caleb Williams. And I think Quinn sets his expectations and his goals for himself high, and he strives to be as good as Caleb, if not better, every single game. I'd love for that to be a goal for him.
Yeah.
I really think as impressive as Caleb Williams was, and up close and personal, he's pretty built. He's a pretty big dude.
He's huge.
Freak athlete.
They have a lot of playmakers around them. Like as good as he looks, there's a lot of guys that help him look good. And I think Quinn has that around him as well with this roster we've been talking about. And I think this season for Quinn Ewers, like hitting those marks, if he wants to get the numbers you want him to toss and the numbers like in the stats we want to see, less is going to be more for him this year. Mm-hmm. That's going to be his mantra this season. Like less is more, dude. Like play your game, be patient. There was times where Caleb Williams was almost too patient back there in the pocket. But be patient. You have a good offensive line. You have a great left tackle. And then you have really good playmakers. So sit back, get your guys, let the play develop. Don't get googly eyes downfield like we've been saying all off season. And, he's going to just play your game and play it quick. Get the ball. Because he's not like the runner Caleb is. Like if things start to bust for Caleb Williams, like he'll move and shake. Even Drake May is like that too. And JJ McCarthy and Travis and Daniels. But Quinn's more of a pocket passer than these other guys. And so I'd love to see him ball in, ball out.
Yeah, 12 different pass catchers had receptions for USC. So, we were talking about guys getting involved, especially if we're up. Like if Malik gets an opportunity to sling the rock for half a quarter or whatever it is, if we're dominating like we expect, love to see us have that many or close to that many pass catchers involved.
Please, it'd be great. Yeah. Awesome. All right, gents. We'll see you, gents, in a couple days. Fans, welcome back to the season. Very exciting. And, in the era of the Horns Up podcast, we've seen the ugly, the bad, and hopefully this year, I think we see the good. I think this is going to be a really fun year for Horns Up and for the fans. So get your horns up. We'll see you guys in a couple days. Welcome.